causes and issues over the years. So I might kind of break them down a wee bit. I think probably one of the most significant ones has been the sense of forging a place in Northern Ireland for both Northern Irish and immigrant and global majority people who live here, which is not a place of one of the two tribes. It's a third space in the middle. And so that's been something that's, and it takes activity. You can't, it's so strong in Northern Ireland, this sense of which tribes you belong to. And of course, many other countries in the world are equally obsessed with their own concerns. This just happens to be the one in Northern Ireland. But it can take active force of will and commitment to make that third space happen. And I would say that kind of reinforcing that has been one of our key challenges over the years. So another issue I'd really like to talk about is the sense of breaking artists free from what might be a sort of host culture's sort of dominant ideology. And what I mean by that is, I think with the best will in the world, when one is hosting new immigrants, or it might be refugees and asylum seekers, or it might be people who've come for, have married in or have come for economic reasons. But there can be, in a strong host country, which Northern Ireland is, Northern Ireland has a very, very rich cultural history. And there can be a sense of knowing what those people are about, or wanting to do well by them, and wanting to therefore choose certain topics or certain areas of artistic expression for them to work in. And I think one of the things that Terra has just hammered away on over the years is this sense of let people be free to speak and work where they want. So I'm just reminded, for instance, of a project we did probably at least 8 or 10 years ago, which was with highly disadvantaged women who had had traumatic pasts, had come from other countries to settle here. And I can remember that there was a strong sense from our stakeholders at the time that they wanted to see this terrible story told of what these women had gone through. But the women wanted to make an animation, which is what we were working on, that was funny and was irreverent and was about winning the lottery and going off to Acapulco. And it made a really cute little video. And I just remember thinking, they have every right to be funny, to write comedy, to write romance, to write a musical, to write whatever they want. And that kind of artistic freedom where the artist chooses and they're not representative of their particular sociocultural background is really a key issue for us. Sometimes an issue will also give rise to a cause. So I'd like to unpack that if I could. So we have a practice where we bring people together, and there's a lot of effort spent to look at who has power in the room. And we've got better and better at dealing with that over the years and have kind of new ways of looking at that. But even in our early days, I had a very strong instinct that when you brought people together, you had to spend a bit of time ensuring that the group respected all its members and that there was an agreed method of working. And when that happens, when you build that group like that, sometimes the group says, this is what we want to do. And I remember very strongly in kind of year 2 of our Arrivals project. This is now a project that's gone on for like 6 years, and it's about getting different stories on the main stages of Northern Ireland than perhaps might normally be there. And you have to kind of pull those stories from the group, allow the group to create them. And this group said, quite literally, next year we think you should tackle this particular immigration problem. And it arose out of the fact that 2 people in the group who had a bona fide, happy marriage and 2 children could not, as a result of the changes to the 2012 immigration policy in the UK, could not come and live in Northern Ireland kind of naturally and easily. They had to have a certain amount of money, which all of us were appalled at how high it was, £24,000 in the bank in order to be allowed to stay. And the Northern Irish partner wasn't allowed to contribute to that. It had to only be all from the immigrant partner. And everybody burst into tears when they heard their story, and they literally grabbed me and said, you have to write a play about this. So that was a really specific immigration issue, and we had a lot of fun with it, where it was interactive, and you played an immigration game, and were you going to be successful or not, and could you pass the questions that would allow you to stay here, which was very interesting for native born Northern Irish people to kind of go through. And some of it was very serious, and we played a lot with the way we staged that, but the fundamental story had been kind of gathered up and nurtured by the group, and they directed me that I needed to do this. I think that one of the key things that we do when it comes to tackling issues is that we give freedom to artists. So what that means is that, we've had pieces on Windrush and the way the Windrush generation was treated. We've had pieces about British Asianness. We've had pieces about different aspects of people's own immigrant experiences. It's been very, very, very broad, and it's come in a whole series of different formats, theater, but also through commissions, and those might result in film, or they might result in kind of sound pieces as well. So I suppose that what I would say is we've dealt with so many issues, it's hard to put a finger on them. But I guess what I would say is that kind of underpinning all of that is this notion of interculturality. As we all know that there has been terrible grief and kind of change on the back of Black pain as a result of the murder of George Floyd, and Black Lives Matter has finally got the traction that it deserves as a force in our society. It was present long before, but there are also other issues. There's been issues of representation, for instance, for Chinese actors on stage, or Asian representation across the UK. And the key thing for us is that we are always seen as an intercultural theatre company. So we're never going to be a Black theatre company, or an Asian theatre company, or a Polish theatre company, or a Canadian theatre company, or a multilingual theatre company. We bring all of those things together, and in that kind of unity of space, we try to allow people to tackle the issues they want to tackle. And I think that's incredibly important for a healthy society.